Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Talk Shop. Back from hiatus. We were delayed for a little while. Thanks, guys, for patience
Paradox
with that.
And BioWare and Atlas saw to that.
Yes, they did. And work. I mean,
And work.
We were playing 4 games on top of working 50-hour weeks at our day jobs.
Some of those games being the work that we were doing itself. So, yeah.
I am DM Schmeier, at DM Schmeier on Twitter. With me, as always, my partner in crime, TJ, at AusaTJ at Twitter.
Yep, that is me.
And we're back.
Yeah.
And we're back. We're going to start something a little bit new with this. So we've done 5 episodes of this show talking about, interesting and varied topics. We are going to try a little bit more of a serialized format, at least for some discussion-based topics. There's still going to be some variants, but we're going to base our next, a lot of episodes around a certain theme, a vision we've got for a project that we think you guys are really going to like. We're going to partner it with some written content on the website. Mm-hmm. Without further ado, TJ's going to intro it.
Yeah, so we basically, credit for the seed of this idea goes to Rowan Kaiser on Twitter, a fellow games journalist who posted a list of the best game he had played for every year of his life, and then it started a trend where a lot of people were doing that, and we were like, we want to take this one step further. So basically,
all the steps further,
because we are a new outlet and we have never made a definitive declaration of what we as the Lore Sworn Order feel are the best games of all time. Some outlets do it once a year. We haven't done it yet. We're going to actually take a little extra twist on that. We are going to do once per week on the website, and then we're going to talk about it on Talk Shop the following week. We're going to do the best games of every year up to the present, starting with the 1980s.
Which we're going to do as a summary. We're going to do that as a decade instead of a year.
The 1980s, it's going to be the best 10 years, or the best 10 games of that entire decade. Because for one, we were collectively, between the two of us, alive for 4 months of that decade.
Yes.
And we haven't...
Our childhoods did feature generous cameos from the greats of that era.
It did, because we played NESs that belonged to aunts and uncles and cousins. And
so we have something to say, but that's not really our era. So we're condensing that into one decade, one list.
1990 up through 2009, we're going to do
a top
5 games per year, and then 2010 up to 2013, because
2017, you mean?
Well, 2014, or it might have been 2015, was the first year that we actually did our games of the year.
Yes.
Because we existed. But from 2010 up to whenever we actually started doing Game of the Year, we're going to do a top 10 because they're more recent and we'll have a lot easier time.
And then in 5 months, at the end of the summer, in a extravaganza,
might even be longer than that.
A quadrilogy of special edition talk shops, which should be your code word for long as hell talk shops. In a quadrilogy extravaganza, we are going to compile a definitive Lore Sworn top 100 games of all time list.
We will also each have a personal top 25 to accompany that, but we're going to try to hash out by reconciling our respective contenders what are as an outlet our 100 games.
One of the things we think that we'll add by partnering Talk Shop with this project on the website is these lists get made, but the discussions and the debates and the scoring systems, etc., that make these lists, they never get seen. That's behind the scenes. This is a deep dive podcast, so we're going to deep dive into how we make these lists. You're going to hear our arguments. You're going to see our scoring and our process as this unfolds.
We're also gonna keep track, kind of Olympics style, of like which countries, which developers, and which platforms have the most points from week to week. So it'll be interesting to watch. I know. Personally, without spoiling too much of my list, Japan dominates a lot of the early years and then drops off fairly swiftly as time goes on.
I still have some very strong Japanese contenders in recent years.
So by the end, we'll be able to see not only the top games of all time, but also which developers have the strongest showing on each of our lists, which countries and which platforms have the strongest showing on each of our lists.
And we're hoping that if we just we're going to deep dive into this process, and we think that that's going to be entertaining. You're going to hear the debates, the discussions, the analysis.
So this weekend, you will be able to read
our top.
We're posting this on the 11th of April, And so this Saturday, which is going to be the 15th of April, the 80s show, or the 80s article will go up, and then the following Talk Shop on April 18th, we'll talk about our top 10 for the 80s, why we picked what we did, and it's why we love those games.
And it's going to follow that format until it's all compiled, and then, like I said, our quadrilogy of special edition episodes compiling the top 100.
Yeah.
Without further ado, though, this is going to be a little bit shorter an episode of Talk Shop. But we're going to establish some ground rules, and we're going to talk about some concepts just so we can get on the same page. I figure the first step is criteria. I don't know any better place to start a discussion on greatest games, whether it's by year or all time. Let's talk for 15 minutes here about the word great. And how we define what makes a legendary all-time great game to us.
Yeah, and you know what I always think about is it's about a gameplay experience. So the one thing that drives me nuts is when you read a list that's clearly not written by gamers.
Agreed.
Where the top games are like it's almost infallibly like Super Mario Brothers, Pac-Man, and Tetris. And it's like
let's be real, y'all. Let's just be real. And I don't even think this is a hot take. Those are not the top 3 greatest games of all time.
Not at all.
Freaking
not at all.
Period. And if you think they are, you're wrong. It's just it's not.
You're empirically wrong. No, those games are really great at what they do, but
and they were foundational. They were cornerstones.
Here's what we're not going to do. We are not going to rate games as great just because they were groundbreaking or influential.
We both agreed that that would be a criteria because it is important. It is a secondary criteria.
You're not
like a tertiary.
You're not
criteria.
going to find Pong anywhere on our top 100 list.
No.
It was the first game, but it is not by any stretch of the imagination one of the 100 best games of all time.
It's not even one of the 10,000 best games of all time.
I haven't played. I don't know that I've even played 10,000 games.
But what we're saying is, as far as criteria goes, a lot of lists rank influence as like one of their primary criteria. Right. It's one of our tertiary criteria. Yeah. It's like 5% of our grade.
It comes in a lot more in the earlier years when it's like, you know, I'm putting a lot of games on the list because they were the first to do something cool that I liked that ended up making its way into other later games on my list because there wasn't really any other criteria to distinguish the other games that came out during this year. But yeah, it's gonna be mostly based on, is this a cool gameplay experience? Nostalgia might factor in as a secondary criteria because we very much are factoring in how much fun did we have when we played this the first time. It's not solely based on if we picked this up today, would we have as amazing a time as
I'm telling you, I've got 3 primary criteria. And that's 90% of my evaluation, and all other criteria are 10.
Yeah.
My 3 criteria are this: how much fun did I have?
Fun is that's one of mine as well.
That's one of my 3. My other 3: did something stick with me long after it was over?
Yeah.
For example, and this is going to be a controversial statement of mine, but it's a sample of what we're going to be talking about as these talk shops for the series continue. I would probably I rank them neck and neck, neck and absolute neck. The one would be maybe 1 or 2 slots ahead of the other. But KOTOR 2, the Sith Lords, would rank higher than KOTOR 1 for me because KOTOR 1 knocks all 3 categories out of the park. But when compared head to head, moments in KOTOR 2, particularly the villain that was Kreia, stuck with me more, and that's an important qualifier for me. Like, did something happen in the game? It's either a moment, a mechanic, or an experience that just hit me, impacted me. Maybe even influenced how I tell stories or how I judge games thereforward. Like, I could never judge an action RPG the same after Mass Effect.
Yeah.
So obviously Mass Effect would get an 11 out of 10 in that category for redefining.
Which, by the way, we could have an entire episode over the problem of the Mass Effect trilogy. Where we've discussed this before. Like, if you look at Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 as a single unit, for both of us, it's kind of like no competition that it would be number 1.
We are actually...
But each of those 3 games have enough wrong with them that we're not sure any of them would end up as our number 1.
And we're leaning towards not including the trilogy as a single game because that's not how they were released. They were 3 separate games.
As hard as it is to hash it out, we will figure out a way to rank them, even though they switch places in my mind just about every time I think about it.
Yep. But
like my gut instinct is usually to say 2 is the best. Then I'm like, yeah, but 2 had like the worst RPG mechanics. There really wasn't any gear or character customization.
Yeah.
But the combat felt really cool. But
it's gonna be. I'm enjoying what the discussion's gonna be.
Yeah.
So you got that criteria, and my third and final criteria is: do I want to pick it up again? Have I picked it up again?
Yeah.
Those are the 2 primary factors in this factor. And slightly looser: have I picked it up again? Did I like picking it up again?
Yeah.
Like, for example, Deus Ex, the original. Love it. Mm-hmm. Extremely impactful. I had a blast when I originally played it, going on 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think about 12 years ago. Yeah, I think that's close to accurate. There are tons of moments in it and a gameplay mechanic. I'll write it obviously when I'm writing my list. That have stuck with me for years, that were groundbreaking, revolutionary.
Yeah.
I wanted to replay it really bad. I didn't enjoy it. When I tried to replay it last year, it has not aged well.
And there are some truly fantastic games that applies to.
But that's part of it.
Yeah, it pains me to say it. Planescape Torment, from a technical standpoint, has not held up particularly well. I
tell my friends at this point, it's almost watch Planescape Torment as a YouTube video rather than play it.
Enhanced Edition might change that because
we're looking forward to it.
Fixing the interface, which is one of the worst parts of replaying Planescape, is that 1999 interface. But yeah, and I think that the other thing that you're going to notice that shouldn't be surprising if you've followed us for any amount of time is we do tend to skew towards storytelling more than other outlets.
Look at the banner on our website.
It's a big reason why a game like Pac-Man will not appear in either of our personal top 25s, because there's not really storytelling in Pac-Man.
Nope.
And it doesn't have to be scripted storytelling. I can almost guarantee you Crusader Kings will be in my top 10, and that is a game that is a story generator.
And a Paradox game will not make an appearance in my top 25. Several will make an appearance in my top 100, and for that reason.
And so we definitely have. I think we are a very good balance to each other because we have a balanced Venn diagram where we have a lot of stuff we overlap on, but we also have a lot of stuff that's like our personal domain. Like for you, that's JRPGs. I'm not a big JRPG guy.
I am.
You can discuss JRPGs like fine wine. Like
I've played them all.
You're a connoisseur, and that's me with like really hardcore strategy. So you're going to see, it's not going to be an echo chamber. You're going to see us hashing out, some apples to oranges type comparisons.
But again, it's a good disclaimer. Yeah. Storytelling is a huge focus for us.
Yeah.
We are the Lore Sworn Order. We're a collective of writers, fiction enthusiasts, and gamers. This is what we're about.
I don't know that there will be a single game that makes it into my top 25 that doesn't either have a really good written story or is a
good
really good story generator. Like it has to be one of those two things to be one of the greatest games of all time for me.
I mean,
and that's totally I will admit that is totally subjective, but that is how I rate things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm tearing off paper here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Just you could go. I look at it as a game can either go with story, it can go storyless, which means it's probably not a good game for me.
Yeah.
It can go scripted, which means it's out to tell a story, at which point gaming shows off its potential as a storytelling medium, which is what draws us to it, I feel like draws us to it. You guys might be drawn to gaming for different reasons, but that's what draws us, the Lore Sworn Order, to games. Or there are games of like Crusader Kings that follow like the Dramatica component, and that's we're referencing some great storytelling software.
Here's another wrinkle that hearing, you only like games that have good story, you're going to throw out all these great ones. Well, there's a third wrinkle to this, in that multiplayer games can be really great story generators.
Overwatch is going to make my top 100 easy.
We have really great stories from playing Overwatch that happen with our interactions with other players. So those things very well might end up on the top
Overwatch
25.
could scrap for my top 25 easy.
Yeah.
I don't know that it'll make it, but it could easily scrap for my top 25.
I don't know that it'll be on my 25. It would probably be on my top 100 easily.
It will be.
But yeah.
I can guarantee you it'll be in my top 100.
Yeah.
But top 25 is the question. But you can either go like the Dramatica, the Trubies, the generate a story via component parts. That's great storytelling software, by the way, that we use to help with our various other projects.
Yeah.
Or it can be scripted, but it's got to have some of it. Story lists is generally not compatible with me.
Yeah.
Just generally not. With the exception of that wrinkle you just described. So that's how we define great. And that's the sort of criteria, the lens we'll be looking at this question from.
Yeah.
Just to send that forward. And we're going to figure out methods of scoring and stuff real time, because we'll need something.
Yeah, once we get to the end, there's going to have to be some sort of procedural way to figure this out instead of, both of us arguing over whether Crusader Kings 2 or Persona 5 is a better video game, because we'd be here for hours and never actually come to a decision.
See, and the thing is there'd have to be some scoring to rank them, because at some point you get to the point where Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, dude, two amazing freaking games. You're literally splitting hairs. So how do you split the hairs? You get 5 categories and you put points in them. That's how you split hairs. That's how it's going to work. So we're going to invent in real time. We're not going to do any advanced discussion over this. In real time, over TalkShop, we're going to invent a scoring system.
Yeah.
When all our lists are done.
And as we go along, that's when you'll get to see I think we might call it like the Data Olympics, which is like the purely data-driven what is in the lead so
everything we write down, everything we analyze, and every point value we attribute to something, you will be able to find on loresworn.com.
Yes.
TalkShop is the spoken component to this article series.
Yes.
But we're going to try partnering the two of them together to see if we can try to do something that I think no one's done before. No one's ever made, in long form, in podcast form, an audience privy to this type of discussion before.
Well, and I've never seen anyone do it this way before either, where, we're actually traveling through time to make up for the fact that we've only been an outlet for like 2.5 years to, render a verdict on games of the year for years that we did not exist yet as a company.
Yep. And here's another disclaimer. Others' opinions are irrelevant to this discussion. This is just the two of us.
Yeah.
Because we could discuss...
This is our entirely subjective opinion of video games.
Not that yours is not valid, not that your favorite critics is not valid. They just can't enter into this discussion, or our opinion will get skewed, and our list will then at that point not be the definitive LSO games of all time.
I mean,
list.
there are games that would shock you that they are not on a top 100 list that will not be on our top 100 list. Stuff like I would imagine something like Counter-Strike.
That's actually going to lead. That's a lead in to That's a lead in to what I was going to want to talk about for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
Real quick, further disclaimer: 100% of TalkShop will not be about this every week. 60% or so of TalkShop. We're going to devote at least 35 minutes an episode.
It's going to replace our main topic, but we will still have side topics as well.
Just if you were liking those, what we've been consuming lately will remain intact. We will do a condensed form of...
Which, by the way, I'm drinking an Upslope Belgian Pale Ale that is very good and is over 8% alcohol.
I just polished off a hot toddy made with bullet rye. So,
nice.
Yeah. I mean, good stuff. Haven't smoked a cigar since Andromeda came out. We've got to rectify that.
Yeah, we do.
The weather is changing. It's beautiful.
It's getting a lot nicer out here in Colorado.
So, next Talk Shop, we'll have a cigar to talk about. We'll each have a cigar to talk about. So we'll do what we've been consuming. We'll do Classy as Fuck. We'll do a small analytical topic. Probably some history, probably some storytelling.
Yeah.
But 65% of each Talk Shop episode through the summer and fall is going to be this.
It'll be almost coming time for us to start talking about games of the year 2017 by the time this article series finishes. Yeah.
So one of the things I want to talk about is, as we're putting these lists together every day, we're not discussing it because we've promised to discuss it on this format.
Yeah.
But we've been doing our individual homework. And one of the things I wanted to talk about for a little while is, at this point, it's starting to become clear to me which good games are not going to make my lists. Either my top 5 for a year, my top 100. And I feel like it would be a good time because people get too hemmy and high about honorable mentions for anything, I feel.
Yeah.
It's serious participation trophy syndrome. It's like we're being disrespectful if we don't. But this game was good. It just didn't. It didn't jibe with me.
I do have some honorable mentions for a lot of the years, but I'm putting them on there because I feel like I personally would be doing a disservice to an experience I enjoyed if I didn't have
that will come on the articles.
Yeah,
that will not come on the Talk Shop. We're not going to be talking about honorable mentions on the Talk Shop because those honorable mentions will not be factoring into the top 100 list. They won't be.
I don't know. I could foresee a couple of mine.
We could make the argument.
Just because there are certain years, I think the first one I ran into was actually 1994, but like 1998 is really bad. 2012 is like, holy shit. There are certain years that I could not fit every game that I feel like might be a top 100 contender into a top 5.
I just don't want to burn a ton of time on honorables.
But we probably won't talk much about them on
So I feel like now's a good time to get the bulk of our honorable mentions out of the way, or at least the important ones. Like, what games do you just want to give a quick shout out to that you don't think will go much further than a thumbs up? Because I have 3.
Okay.
That I feel like I have to pay respect to, but that don't make my list.
Okay. Go ahead.
First and foremost, it's a BioWare game. It's actually very good. Like, I feel like it got a bad rap, a much worse rap than it deserved at any rate. Dragon Age 2. Good game. Not a great game, though. Fun elements, flawed elements. Some good characters, some bad characters. I really enjoyed playing through it. Like, I can't remember not having a good time as I played through the game. But you're just not going to see it on my list. It's an honorable mention, both for the year it came out and for gaming history as a whole. That is a good game that I feel like I need to shout out that I enjoyed, but that is not a legendary game to me.
I would probably agree. I mean, when we get to that year, it's possible that it might end up some like at 9 or 10 for that year, but
I've done that year. It doesn't end up in my top 10.
Fair enough. You've worked further ahead than I have. I'm still on the 90s, I think. Yeah. So I think I can spoil one of mine for the 80s. One of the first major
honorable mention
that just did not quite make my top 10 is the original Final Fantasy. I played it. I enjoyed it. I did not feel like it was amazing. I mean, it's foundational, but again, we're not judging based on foundational.
It's the genome. It's the embryo for the greatness that followed it.
There are definitely Final Fantasy games on my top 5 for other years. There will definitely be at least one Final Fantasy game in my top 25 and maybe even 2 or 3.
See, I've got 2
there are
Final
2
Fantasy
that
games
seem like they have to be in there, and then a third one that's
there are 4
very, very, very.
There
close.
are 4 Final Fantasy games that belong in my top 100, and 2 are fighting strongly for my top 25.
There's a clear winner for me.
I
have a clear favorite Final Fantasy game that outdoes all the other ones pretty.
I can't guarantee that both of the Final Fantasy games I'm referencing make my 25. I can just about guarantee that one of them will.
Yeah.
It's a series that has produced indisputably 3 and arguably 4 all-time great titles.
Yeah.
But I agree with the first Final Fantasy. It makes my 80s list. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But just barely. And it is the genome, the embryo of a great game.
Yeah.
Of a great series. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
The foundation, the cornerstone that it laid for the Final Fantasy games that followed it, I think it's clear when you play through it. It's like, wow, I'm seeing the influences, I'm seeing the plot style, I'm seeing the Easter eggs even that show up in other games. But do I respect your contention that it's not an all-time great game in your own right? Yes, I do. Final Fantasy is not going to make my top 100, and neither will Final Fantasy 2.
Yeah.
They're good JRPGs that established the rules and the way of doing things that Final Fantasy games, starting with 3, 4, and then really 5 and 6, started to take, to legendary directions.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you. But it's a good shout out, right?
Yeah. I guess. It's your turn. What's your other honorable mention you want to spoil here?
So this one I went back and forth a lot. This was but in the end, I just the Sonic the Hedgehog series on Sega Genesis was an amazing entry to platforming for me. And I still think there are elements that the Sonic games do better than Mario ever did. The speed, the dynamicism of the stages. But an honorable mention that will not show up on my lists: Sonic and Knuckles. I loved the including of the Knuckles character. He had great mechanics. But I thought that the stages got bland, got dull. And I felt like in the effort to make Knuckles cool, they let him do a lot of stuff that made it like, why would you even play as Sonic anymore? Sonic can't climb walls. He can't glide.
They did kind of give him a lot of powers. That's true.
Yeah, so it's like I feel like the game it was another great entry in the Sonic the Hedgehog platformer series, but it did some things that I feel didn't service the game as a whole, and it falls short despite my declaring it a very, very good game.
Interesting.
I played the shit out of it as a kid. I loved shoving my Sonic 2 cartridge in there to take old Knucks through Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which has some of the best platforming in history.
That was a good one, for sure. So I think one of the ones that is an honorable mention for me and is not on my top 5 for this year that will absolutely shock and scandalize a lot of people, Super Mario 64.
No. That'd make an honorable mention, but not a list for me.
Fantastic game. It usually ends up in the top 10 overall when you see a major publication.
The most broken camera of all time, though.
It had a broken camera. I felt like some of the jumping and platforming and stuff was kind of glitchy.
It was.
And
I can't count the times I literally fell through something to my death.
Well, and here to some extent there was a little bit too much going on almost. Like the fact that they had so many stages and they were all cool and they were all different, but like for one thing, you didn't even need to finish all of them to beat the game, so you ended up ignoring a lot of stuff. But I felt like if they had focused on larger stages with more stuff to do instead of having, all these little different ones, some of that is the limitations of the
like
memory
for
on the
example
N64,
for example what Banjo-Kazooie did years later.
Banjo-Kazooie,
less stages, but amazing stages.
Fantastic game. Both of those are
I agree with
games,
you,
but
you've got to give Super Mario 64 an honorable mention because of what it meant. And there's that historical anachronistic argument.
And I will say Mario 64 is one of those that even though it's not a top 5 for the year that it came out for me, it might end up in my top 100.
I'm not gonna lie. It might gun for 100, on my top 100, spot 100 or 99.
96 was a packed year.
Yeah,
I'm looking at my list for 96, and there are like 3 or 4 games on there that could have been number 1 in a weaker year. And I find that a lot. Like freaking 98, like holy shit, man.
1998 was one of the most stacked years in gaming history.
It really was.
I can't wait for that talk shop. That talk shop might go 90 minutes,
episode,
100 minutes. It's gonna be,
and I know we're gonna be duking it out over 1 and 2, because
probably
I know we have a disagreement on 1 and 2.
We do, and in fact, I think we have a disagreement in terms of swapping the 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Your 1 is my 2, and my 1 is your 2.
Yeah,
so it's going to be one of those
fucking close. Like I'm even wondering right now if I should rearrange them. But yeah,
that's the greatness.
Yeah. So
another one, the final one for me. And again, utter blasphemy, right? People are going to be scandalized, but again, we're here to make the tough choices, folks. We're here to get down to the nitty gritty. We agonized over these lists. The original Half-Life, honorable mentions is an honorable mention for me for that year. Could I envision it in my top 100? I could. As a matter of fact, I actually think that Half-Life will be in my 90s. Like, when push comes to shove, that's about where I imagine it. But did it make my top 5 for the year it came out? It did not.
Okay.
And it's pretty indisputably a very good to great game, arguably legendary.
Yeah.
Especially for what it did for first-person shooters. But once again, it's a game where we are minimizing the impact of influence on our scoring. And to me, arguably, when you take the sum of the circumstances, the original Half-Life is defined a lot by what it brought to the genre, which doesn't help it much in our scoring category.
Now, my experience with that game, I think I would actually disagree with you, but we will wait until the episode where you discuss 1998 to actually go over why that is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought Half-Life was actually a fantastic storytelling experience.
And like I'm saying, that's an honorable mention that I envision will make my grand list.
Yeah.
Like it was indisputably a great game.
Yeah.
It's just 1998, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
like you were entering the slaughtering grounds if you came out that year. Like, freaking holy shit! I'm
just even looking at
mentally rearranging my list right now too, because I feel like maybe there might be one thing that is an honorable mention that actually should swap spots with my number 5. But yeah, I think my third one, I've only done my list up to 1999, so one of the last ones I can spoil is Pokemon Gold and Silver, which
that's a good shout. It's a good shout.
Here's the interesting thing. So I'll spoil this. Red and Blue are on my list for that year. I liked Gold and Silver better. That was my favorite generation of Pokemon games, actually.
I thought I can agree with that. I liked them better. They were deeper. They had more going on.
Yeah, they had more mechanics, like
slightly more interesting.
Trainer, stuff for your trainer to do. But 99 was a tougher year than 96 for me, so it got pushed to honorable mention.
We are minimizing the influence category. It is still a category.
It's
tertiary.
Is
still a tertiary category.
There, yeah.
And whereas Pokemon Silver and Gold don't even blip. Well, and
here's why.
They don't even blip on influence.
Here's honestly why I think that is. I think because we rate partially based on the experience we had the first time we played it. And if you already have the experience of playing Pokemon Red and Blue, that somewhat diminishes the "oh my god, this is awesome" factor of the later Pokemon generations.
I can tell you this, I agree with you. Did I like Gold and Silver more? I do.
Yeah.
But the feeling I had, which is, again, that's one of my major categories that I had playing Red and Blue. Gold and Silver, it's not even on the same planet. It's not even on the same planet.
So I think we've pinpointed that this factor that is going to affect our scoring, it's not necessarily influence on the industry. It's a measure of, the experience we had with it the first time, which doesn't always line up the way it does with the Pokemon series. There are games that have built on a very similar game that I had a much more groundbreaking initial experience with than I did the one that came before it. So it's not always a rule, but yeah, that's definitely something that's going to factor in. Yep. Absolutely.
Nope, and I can tell you that's why I would have to rate Red and Blue over Gold and Silver on any list, is because the experience was it wasn't just amazing, it was iconic for me. Like shattering. It was personal development almost. Mm-hmm. Like that's one of those games that it just changes you, catching them all.
The other thing I'm noticing as I'm looking over these lists and as I'm thinking, even just looking at, every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, those two could swap spots. Those two should probably swap spots. What we're really establishing is when we put up our top 100 list, we're saying all of these games are fantastic.
Amazing.
We're not saying that we have definitively ranked number 93 on our list is this much worse than number 86. What we really want to do is celebrate 100 games that we feel are awesome.
Yes, and create a completely subjective, objective, a completely subjective form of scoring.
Exactly. If we,
and here's the thing too, man. Everybody loves lists, man. Yeah. Everybody loves a countdown.
Exactly. I read lists. Everybody does it. It's just fun to read. There's an inherent drama in a list article, which is I think why they do so well.
Yeah, and that's what
we're
doing.
Like, oh, well, if that's number 2,
here's the thing.
what's number 1?
We are going to score them, and we're going to have to reconcile our 2 different scores, and we'll figure out how. Are we saying that game 86 is better than game 93? Probably, to a degree. But what we're saying is we liked it better. And possibly literally by only a paper-thin margin.
And if we redid this list a year later,
it'd change.
Those are going to move around.
It'd change. Part of the fun, though, is what we're doing is we make these initial lists, these initial top 5s and top 10s, is we're creating a pool of games. Then we're going to create a scoring system. And then we're going to organize that pool of 200 plus freaking games into a top 100 and then a top 25. That's what it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be this definitive critical work. So I agree with you.
And here's the other thing is we want to actively encourage you guys to play along. If you want to post your top 10 list for the 80s in the comments,
do it.
We'll discuss it with you. We'll bat that back and forth. We'll even pay attention if we get enough comments on okay, here's a game
that
was on neither of our lists, but our fans really like it, so we're going to give it a shout out on the podcast because it ended up on number 1 or 2.
The other thing I'm hoping to do is as we come together as a community to discuss this, there are going to be games that are going to show up that some of y'all, and I'm hoping us, haven't played.
Yeah.
So consider this not just an amazing, loving homage to the legendary games of gaming history. Also consider, if you want to, you're talking about this isn't a definitive critical work, it's a subjective opinion list. This is a definitive recommendation list.
Yes,
ladies and gentlemen, every game we put on these lists we would endorse in terms of go try it if you haven't.
In terms of even as far as to say probably every game we're going to have on these lists is something that we feel you would be remiss not to try.
Not to play.
Yeah.
Not to play. You would be remiss not to play it, not to sample it. I'm not talking about okay, you get away with playing this a little bit and just experience it. No, I'm talking if I put a game on this list, you need to beat it. You need to start it. You need to finish it.
You will be banned forever if you don't finish every game. You have 1 week to finish.
I don't have that kind of power, but if I did,
I could show you how to ban people from YouTube comments. It's really fast and easy. Thank you, YouTube. No, we usually only have to ban spam bots. We've had 2 people ever in our YouTube comments who are being enough of a dick that
we ban spam and we ban abuse. That's it. We do not censor disagreement we ban spam and abuse. That's it. That's it. And that's actually that's a really easy criteria.
Yeah.
You don't get to sell stuff in our comment section.
And abuse is pretty easy. If you're attacking a person instead of criticizing their opinion, you are abusing your comment privileges. That's pretty much it.
Zero. And I am comfortable saying zero tolerance.
Yeah.
The first time you say anything we could even feel like is abuse, you're gone. There's no 3-strike policy. There's just. And that's because
you can say the way you play Hearts of Iron drives me absolutely fucking nuts, and that's fine.
That's not abuse at all.
You just can't say that we're a fucking idiot because we don't know how to play Hearts of Iron. That's
At which case, that comment would see you banned for life.
Exactly.
And we're just trying to foster a positive community. Because here's one of the things that I love that's happening, and that I hope will continue to happen, is it's really a community.
Yeah.
Our commenters are interacting. Man, we've got fan fiction going on in the comments of our Kaiser
I know,
videos.
And that's freaking
awesome. My God, I nerd out. I squee. It's oh God, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I want the Lore Sworn Order to be a safe place for that. Always.
Yeah.
A place where that is celebrated because we celebrate storytelling.
Yeah.
So, positivity is encouraged. And
mandatory.
Abuse, it's not mandatory. It's encouraged.
Mandatory,
But abuse is absolutely verboten. We won't tolerate it.
Yeah.
That's just a shout out. It's a disclaimer.
Good to actually have that on the record somewhere so that we can point to this podcast if anyone's like.
And what's funny is I figure probably sometime on a later talk shop, all 4 of us have stories about some of the supreme internet ugliness we've encountered that has led us to feel that way.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll share that with y'all someday just to explain our reasoning. But today is not that day. So
it's very easy if you're about to take an action and stop yourself and think about, am I being a dick?
Yes.
If the answer is yes, don't take that action.
Are you being such a dickwad?
if you feel that this action would increase your dick quotient,
which is a scientific measurement.
Yeah.
It is a scientific measurement.
Yes.
It is dick over douchebag.
Yeah.
that is your insufferable human being quotient right there.
Yeah.
If you feel that your action would result in a net increase of that number, don't do it. The entire internet would be better if people took that advice.
We should probably also make you guys aware that we do have genre biases to some level.
To some level. I feel like we're not ruled by them, though.
I think there will be a disproportionate, what you might see as a disproportionate number of RPGs on both of our lists.
Guaranteed. But it's a subject.
Yeah.
We've got how many times do we have to say the subjective word? It's a subjective list.
It's really not genre bias as much as it is genre preference.
Yes,
we're not making an effort to have 25% shooters on our lists. Like that's not something we're gonna do
because it's not a genre either of us have really gravitated towards.
Yeah, with some exceptions, but in general.
Oh yeah, with some exceptions. Battlefield 1 is going to feature prominently. What a great game.
And Overwatch, obviously.
Borderlands 2 is absolutely going to be on my list in some form or fashion. Great game. A loot-based shooter. Who the hell knew that would work?
Obviously, if you know me, there's going to be a lot of strategy games, both on my top 100 and in my top 25, and probably like 5 or 6 of my top 10. Actually, I know that that's not true because I have spitballed my top 10 and there actually are more contenders for that are RPGs than strategy just because of that experience criteria. I have had more unforgettable experiences from RPGs, I think, than I have from strategy
Which,
games.
to be honest with you, is also, I feel like, something that the RPG genre will get preferential treatment from storytelling enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of stuff that sticks with us.
Yeah.
We're writers, man. We end our days writing stories and screenplays and preparing campaigns for our tabletop sessions.
Yeah.
And it's what we do.
Oh, crap. I have to prepare a campaign for your tabletop session.
Yeah, I thought I'd insert that a little bit subtly.
Yeah.
Was that good?
I'm pretty well set for this.
All right,
week,
I was going to say, was that a good insert?
Yeah, there you go.
Nice and subtle.
Yeah, very subtle.
That's right. That's the lawyer skills right there.
Subtlety.
Yes, that was
subtlety.
That was wink wink nudge nudgeception right there.
Absolutely.
It's a lawyer skill.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So we're gonna, like I said, it's gonna just be a short episode introducing what we're doing, introducing our companion series on Loresworn.
Yeah.
A partnership between Loresworn.com and our Talk Shop podcast. Even though I suppose the Talk Shop podcast is under the Loresworn umbrella.
Yeah.
We kind of run this separate from what we're doing from the rest of the site, though.
Yeah.
But we're partnering up with this article series. Shoot, is there anything you wanna end it on, or
just that I'm really excited to be doing this, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to take a journey through time, figure out what our favorite games from each year were, and then figure out a way to smash them all together and come up with something.
Oh, it's going to be a blast.
Yeah,
and I love that we're going to show how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be something that's going to be really, really fun for you guys to listen to, because we're good writers. And we're good gamers, and we have other skills and whatnot. But one thing that we haven't exposed you to, I mean, you could probably guess because of my law degree and my license to practice, we're pretty good debaters, pretty good arguers.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do some sparring over some of these topics that y'all should enjoy.
Yeah, definitely.
We both promised each other not to back down. And not to approach every argument looking for a compromise. We're gonna have some of these out.
Yeah.
Especially in '98. A discussion will ensue, sir. A discussion.
Yeah, I think that definitely will be quite a discussion.
And the one thing I wanted to end on is just asking you guys for your opinion, because Talk Shop is where you and I get together and talk shop. The girls have offered several ideas for ways to feature you and I and our unique talents or lack thereof in other creative projects that they have come up with. I'm wondering what y'all would like to see us try to do. A cooking show has been pitched.
Yeah.
Dylan and TJ in the kitchen.
I'm probably the worst cook by far that lives here, so that would be...
I have a recipe repertoire of about 50 things. Once you go outside of that, I'm about as bad. So
yeah, I'm in single digits, and like 3 of them are ramen. So,
so DM and TJ in the kitchen is one such offering up. DM and TJ in the shop is another thing offered up. Us trying to sew and make costumes. That could either be incredibly riotously funny or very boring. I'm not really sure which.
I have no idea.
And so I want to know if something like that is something y'all would be interested in seeing. Because if our supporters and the people who like to watch us and listen to us do things find that a good idea, then I think we can indulge our partners in crime and make that happen. I think that is a... personally, I'm more partial to DM and TJ in the kitchen. I think that would be, considering we both have a small degree of competence in that field, and a large degree of fan enthusiasm for Food Network programming. I think we could make that a very entertaining watch.
Can we have a table full of white people who yell random words in Japanese for no reason?
That might be too on the nose, but I suppose it's something we can discuss at a production meeting. I would not be opposed to having that discussion at a production meeting. We definitely need someone with a British accent to be hurling abuse at us every step of the way.
Oh, absolutely.
That's not optional. Either someone with a British accent or an upper crust former engineer.
If you know somebody with a British accent who lives in the Denver Boulder area and likes to yell at people who are bad at cooking, drop us a line.
Yeah, you send us that tip. We would like to talk to that individual about engaging his or her services in abuse hurling. A strong preference for someone who enjoys calling 2 gentlemen tossers would be would be, that would be
the creative insults. That's really what sells it.
The Brits are just on another level as far as that's concerned. They are on a whole nother level of cursing, a whole nother level of insulting. There's I know
in territorially the British Empire has collapsed, but in the domain of insults and slings and arrows, I feel like it's very much still alive.
I spoke with a Glaswegian fellow on during a customer service dispute, and he unleashed a string of epithets and insults at me that to this day I don't know what he called me, but I'm sure it was searing.
But you have emotional damage from it anyway.
I know. I just kind of sat there like, I think I've been so thoroughly owned that I am disoriented. I am like, whoa. Whoa, this dude is spitting hot fire and I can't even handle it. He's ripping me to shreds. So, but look out if we decide that is something that we are willing to expose ourselves to via a mass internet audience. You could probably be on the lookout for that a little later this year. Should be illuminating and humiliating. Beyond that, Kaiserreich has concluded. Kaiser and the Stars is coming.
It hasn't concluded by the time to listen to this, though.
But we're concluding that series.
Kaiserreich is wrapping up, and we're gonna take it to space because that's what you do anytime you need to start a new season of a TV show and do something new with it.
You take
Power Rangers did it.
They took it to space.
Who
knows where the technology came from? Like the Power Rangers, all of a sudden Earth had a space shuttle that could go to Mars. No one knows where it came from. No one knows why Justin's dad had anything to do with it.
I know where it came from. It came from, here's the footage from the latest season of Super Sentai. Make up some bullshit that works with this. That's how every season of Power Rangers
Why was Justin's dad involved with the space shuttle? Nobody knows.
I don't know.
It's okay, though.
Why was there a dude with frosted tips who was somehow a Power Ranger with no relation to the other Power Rangers?
Let's just be glad he's here. Let's not worry about that stuff.
Why was the Gold Ranger mostly black with just a little bit of gold trim?
Again, let's just be glad he's here. Let's be Go Power Rangers, all right? Or in that case, Go Z-O, all right?
Yeah. And why did the Green Ranger have to use a flute to summon his Zord when the other ones just got them to come automatically?
Maybe the Dragon Zord's a dick. Maybe there's some sort of transaction that went on there. He's like, you gotta serenade me a little bit before I come shoot missiles at your enemies.
I ain't no hollowback Zord.
No, I got a drill tail. Let's be real. I am so much cooler than any of those other ones. I got a drill tail. My fingers are literally missiles. That would probably become a problematic circumstance when he's trying to lift stuff up. Like, what if the Dragon Zord needed to save like someone trapped under construction equipment or something? It's like, oh no, Green Ranger, lift this bulldozer off of my trapped child, and the Dragon Zord's like, all my digits are warheads, bro. I can't. I can't do that.
It's gonna be a hazard. It's gonna be an explosion hazard.
I'll turn your little princess into hamburger.
Okay. Well, I think
we're tired.
I think with that completely unexpected tangent into Power Rangers lore, we will probably wrap it up for the night.
I love this show.
Make sure to check out loresworn.com.
And check out the Great War, too, is the other thing I want to come into.
Oh, yeah, the Great War mod for
Loresworn tries to salvage autocratic Russia.
Yeah.
That is our mission. And we're thinking we might do a little bit of a, not really storytelling a la the Loresworn video, but some components.
Yeah.
We've got an idea for something we can kind of pair with that as we go, obviously, down seriously ahistorical roots, because Russia circa 1911 to 1917 was so incompetent. Oh my lord, incompetent. And we're not gonna be that. So as we diverge down the wonderful yellow brick road of alternate history, we're gonna have some stuff going on with storytelling and with narrative that we think you guys will find pretty interesting. So
that's gonna be awesome, and we'll see you guys around.
It's going to be great. We'll see you next week, where we'll talk about the greatest games of the 1980s via Loresworn Order's opinion. Check it out. Thank you, guys.